Okay, this is the RenderNow tutorial, and we're going to go over a number of topics that you see on the screen here today. First, starting with an overview of what RenderNow is, the features, the benefits, and the requirements to use it. So RenderNow is a software application that lives in the cloud. It can be accessed from multiple web browsers. We recommend using Chrome, Microsoft Edge at the moment. The RenderNow application is built to be able to create event renderings in short amount of time that look high quality and realistic, and that also are able to get you where you want to be much faster. And we do that by providing event templates, so design templates that you can quickly drag and drop out, and also a ton of 3D models that can be used to build your event. The idea is that you don't have to do any custom things within the application, so everything should be built for you so that you can easily drag and drop things in, change colors, add logos, and basically just make the design your own. And that's it. If you have any questions, go ahead and use the chat feature on our website to contact us that way. All right, next, we'll go over logging in. So when you first open the RenderNow.co website, you can go to the dashboard here or the Start Renders button here. And this tutorial will be right here, which you can watch from here. You can also scrub to different sections of the tutorial by just seeing down here. They're all labeled by different topic. All right, so to go and start the application and log in, you're going to go to that tab and then hit Start. And typically it takes anywhere from 20 seconds to up to a minute to load, just depending on your internet connection. The application does require a decent internet connection, so if you're having any troubles with internet or you think there's an internet issue, it could possibly be that you need to move closer to the Wi-Fi router if you're connected to Wi-Fi, or potentially connect to a different internet source. A couple other things to note. Since it is a streamed application, currently the application is active for 5 minutes while you're inactive, and the application will time out if you basically aren't using it for over 5 minutes. But we do have an autosave feature on there so that you don't lose any of your work. All right, so once you get in here, you're just going to add in your email. If you don't have an account yet, just go ahead and hit this new account, and then you can start a trial project. Otherwise, if you already have an account, you can type it in here with your password, or if your company has already made an account for you, possibly they have your login credentials, and you're just going to add it in here. And just hit enter. It'll take a second or two, and then it will show this screen, which will load your projects. When you first log in, if it's a new account, you'll just have this starter project here, and you can go ahead and click on that starter project and hit load selected, and that'll be a great place to start from. All right, real quick, we'll go over support and questions. So if you're on the website here and you go to the dashboard or dashboard page here, you can go down here to support, and there's a number of information here that you can read over, a feedback form. There's also some resources like keyboard shortcuts and more tutorial videos. But the best way to get in contact is to, when you're in the application, if you want to contact us or need any help, you can go ahead and hit this little chat button here at the bottom right, and we're available from 9 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time for live chatting and help. All right, loading and saving projects. We'll go over that real quick back here. So to load and save projects, you're just going to go up to this save button right here. and there will be all of your projects will show up here, and you're just going to hit load selected. If you want to create a new project, basically you hit this new button, and what it's going to do is it's going to basically do a save as feature. So you're going to create a new project based off of what you currently have in this scene. So if I hit new, and then I'll go ahead and hit new test and then create new project. It's just going to take a second, and then it's going to load. It's going to go back to the screen, and then it's going to load the new project in a second. It takes a couple seconds to load. And then it'll go back to this view. And then if you click up here, you'll see that you have this new test project that you just created, and it's selected. So you're all good to go with your new project. All right, we'll go ahead and talk about selecting and moving objects. All right, so to select objects, there's multiple ways to do it. One is to just click on an individual object with the left mouse click. It's best to have a standard mouse with a scroll wheel and a left and right click. The application was just built right now to work best with a mouse. It can be used with a trackpad as well, but for now it's easier to use with a mouse. So to select multiple objects, you can hold your left mouse click and basically drag over multiple items like this. The best way to select multiple items in a 3D space. So basically these lights, they're kind of dark here, but if you can see them, these lights are in a 3D space, and if I only want to select the lights and nothing in front of them or behind them, what I'm going to do is hover my mouse over this first one right here, and I'm going to left click, hold it, and then I'm going to let go once I've touched the last light, and that'll select all the lights for me. So that's very helpful to do when you have objects in front of or back of the things that you want to select, so it doesn't select them. Another easy way to select things is go up to selection. In the select all drop down, you have a number of objects that you can easily select. So if you want to just select the stage wash at the top there, it's stage wash. Uplights, backlights, there's no backlights in the scene, but let's do drapery, risers. So that's a quick and easy way too if you don't want to try to use your mouse to select things. And then if you hold your shift key on your keyboard and click each object, it will select objects separately. So if you only wanted to select, let's say, this truss and maybe delete them, you can do it just like that. And you can also see all of these key commands in this keyboard shortcut image right there. And we'll go next to let's actually go over real quick moving objects. So we just talked about selecting objects, and to move them, you're going to use this gizmo tool right here is what it's called, or a transformer. So the gizmo is basically used to move objects in the 3D space. The green arrow is going to move it forward and backward. The red arrow is going to move it left and right. And then this blue arrow is going to move it up and down. And so if I were to go into a top view, I can go ahead and click on the object and just move it left and right or front and back. And if I use the where the red and green arrow or green box kind of meets, I can select that to move it in any direction there. So I'll go back to here. And then as an added feature, if you go to selection and turn off this multi-select tool, you can actually just click on an object and move it anywhere you want. So without the gizmo, basically. And so that's basically how you move objects. All right, we'll go over camera controls and views. So you have a few different camera options to move around your camera. So if you hold the right mouse button and then move your mouse around, you'll orbit around the scene. And then if you use your scroll wheel on your mouse, you can zoom in and out like this. And then if you want to actually move the whole sort of camera around like this, you can use your keys on your keyboard, which are A, W, S, D, Q, and E. And you can again see that here on your keyboard. So it's A, W, S, D is to move around, then Q and E moves you up and down. So if I do Q, I move down. If I use E, I move up. W is forward, S is backward, A is left, and D is right. And if you go into this views button here, you have a few different views options. So you start in orbit view, and that allows you to orbit around. But you also have this first person view option where you're kind of on the floor here, and you can still move anywhere you want, except you don't really orbit. You actually kind of more or less turn your head when you right click and drag, and then you can move around with the same keyboard movements like this. So this can be really nice if you want to get a very specific rendering camera angle, and you can zoom in and sort of get a nice blur in the foreground there. You can also do a really wide view of the room from this first person view. So if you zoom out a lot, you can get this wide angle. All right, a couple more options for the camera views here is you have a top view. If you hold your right mouse button down and drag, you can move around the scene here. You have a left view, which will show you your ceiling and floor, a right view, a front view, and then again your orbit and your first person views. If you go into your orbit views and you want to save some camera angles so that you can easily jump to them, you just hit the saved key or saved button here, and you're going to hit the plus sign on the button right here, and then maybe move around and find another camera angle that you like and hit the plus button again. And then maybe you want one more straight on, just hit the plus button again. And now you have these stars here, and basically you can just jump to the different camera angles like this. And so that's really helpful if you're, playing around in your scene and maybe you're up here and you just want to jump to your front angle camera view real quick and then jump back. So that can be pretty helpful. All right, next we have editing controls here. So we'll go over a number of the editing controls that are available. So all of your editing controls are going to show up on the right-hand side here of the screen. If you click on specific objects, certain editing controls will show up. So if I click on a piece of truss, I'm going to get this option that says truss size, and if I click this button, it's going to allow me to change the truss to different sizes. So I just keep clicking the button and it will go to different sizes, and I'll just stop on the one that I want. I'm going to quickly go ahead and duplicate this truss and move it over, and then do the same thing and make it longer so I have more truss up here. All right, and then if I select, let's say, a light, so this light fixture, this Leica that's pointing down, what's going to happen is two sliders are going to show up down here. The one's going to say selection intensity, so I can adjust the intensity of the light there, and then I can also adjust the cone angle of the light by adjusting the slider. And then lastly, you can adjust the color of the light with this color wheel here. And if I wanted to select all of the lights, I can go ahead and do that. Maybe make them all an amber-ish color, something like this. All right, and so that's some of the editing controls, but the items do change with different types of objects again. So you'll have always pretty much the same editing controls for lights. So you'll have the cone angle again, and then the intensity for these uplights down here. But let's say you want, you added in a projection screen. If I set that there, I get a few different options. So up here, you'll notice that when I select the screen, I get this add image button over here. And basically what this does is it allows me to add in an image to the screen. The directions to add an image are right here, and we'll go over it as well in a minute. And then you also have the ability to change the color of the drapery on the screen as well. So a couple options there. If I were to add in a LED wall screen, the options are going to change just slightly. So I now have this object size up here, and what that allows me to do is just change the dimensions of the screen. So I might hit, let's do 9 by 16. So that's 16 by 9 foot screen there. And then I can add an image to that as well. Once you do add an image, you actually have a few more options. So I'm going to quickly go in here and add just a graphic to the object here. So if I hit add image now, it'll add that image. And there you go. All right. And then let's see, what do we have next? We have adding images and logos. So we kind of just went over that, but we'll go over it a little more in depth. So like what I just did, if you click on any screen within the application, or basically anytime this pops up, you can add an image to an object. So for instance, if I were to even some decor pieces, let's say like this piece of decor, you can actually add an image to this decor right here. So if you notice, this pops up again, which means that I can add an image to it. So I'm going to click on here and see that I have that image open, and I'm just going to hit enter there, and you'll see that that image pops up on that object. If I want to do a custom image, right now we currently use a site called imagebb.com, and you're able to upload specific graphics to here. You can use a free account. There's just some ads and stuff on it, but you do need to make a profile, and then you're going to get a direct link to the image that you want. And once you have the direct link, you're able to, once you have this direct link here, you're able to copy it and then paste it into this guy here. So let me select that screen back there, paste it in here, and I hit enter. And then you get the custom image that you wanted on that screen there. Okay, and so that's how you add images to screens and other objects. All right, next we'll go to venues and talk about how you can add your venue into the program. So the way to get a basic room in the program is to hit this build button. And you can just type in the dimensions of your room. So maybe you're 150 by 100 by 22, and then just hit enter there. And it's going to allow you to load a floor plan onto the room if you want. And you can do it via these directions here. But if you don't want to do that, then you can just exit out of there. You select this little box up here to move the room if you want to move the room or rotate the room. Just like that. And then if you are interested in actually having a specific ballroom added to your account, you can, either select this Buy Venues button and purchase any of the pre-made ballrooms that are already in here. If you don't see your ballroom that you want in there, we can add that, and it typically takes 1 to 2 weeks to do. You just contact us through our chat button here to get a hold of us to request your ballroom made. But once your ballroom is made, we add it to your account, and then you just drag it in like that, and you'll be able to see your room there. You can see in this option we have the floor plan added to the top view as well, which is something that we can do. And yeah, so from there you can move your ballroom around, change the lighting, and basically set up your event around your actual ballroom there. All right, next we have measurement and drafting tools. So right now there are a few tools to be able to measure and add labels to your floor plan here. So you're going to go up to this markup button here, and you have a couple different options. One is ruler and one is label. If I click the ruler button, all I need to do is now click and drag my mouse, and I can basically create an arrow with a measurement on it. So you can basically just keep adding measurements around your floor plan here like this. And then I do need to turn that off if I want to stop making measurements. And then if I click the label button, there's going to be this little label up here, and I need to click on this little box right here, and it will allow me to move around this label here, and then I can type anything I want to in this box here. And that's basically, for now, what we have for measurements and label drafting tools, stuff like that. So you can use those tools to make labels and things in each different view. So if you wanted this front view or left view or right view or top view, you can use the tools in any of those views. All right, and then we also have the ability to create custom templates. So if you go back into your orbit view here, I'm going to just go ahead and delete this stuff real quick. All right, so for templates, you have a few different options. You can use some of the pre-made templates that we have. So if you go down into here into this templates box, you start off here with these different templates that you can just drag and drop in. So you can kind of play with these, just drag them in and see what there is basically. You can see here any objects or any of these templates. You can just start from adjust the screens if you want to, any of that stuff. But if you don't want to use any of these, you can actually create your own template as well. So let's say you built a set with a few screens and some lighting and some other stuff in it. And maybe you wanted to save this as a template just so you can come back to it quickly. You can either save it as a project and then always just come back to your saved project this way, or you can save it as a template, and that way you can just drag and drop it in really quickly. So all you have to do is hit Save Template, and that will bring this box up, and you can enter the name of it and create a group for it, and then add it in that way. If you have already created a bunch of templates, it'll look like this for now. So these are a bunch of different groups, and then basically each one of these is a template, just a bunch of test templates. You can see a bunch of different stuff going on there. And then next we'll go over creating final renders and downloading your renderings. And we'll say for now that this is the look that you want to go with. So you might find your camera angle that you want here, and then what you're going to do is you can use your actual right mouse click on your mouse to focus in on an object. So if you notice, if I right click on this table right here, it'll focus on the table. if I right click on the screens in the back here, it'll focus on that. And then I'm just going to hit this render button up here, and I'm going to click render now. And basically what's going to happen is it's going to take a couple seconds, and then you're going to get this dialog screen. And typically it takes anywhere from 10 to 60 seconds for your rendering to download. And once it downloads, it's going to show up right here. And then you can download a 4K rendering of it, and also you have the option of downloading an HD version with a disclaimer on it as well. So those are a couple options there for rendering, and then if you want to create another rendering after this one has showed up, you just go ahead and click this button again and go ahead and render it again. All right, and then just a couple of final sort of extra things. As you're playing around with all the different buttons here, there are a couple other options as well. So in this visuals button at the right side here, you have a couple options. As you can see right here, there's a button called haze, and if you turn that on, typically you won't notice too much, but if some of your lights are turned up pretty high, let's say, you'll notice that there becomes a haze. So you can turn that haze on. This typically is shown best with moving lights. So if you were to add in a moving fixture like this, and then let me rotate this around. And then if I turn on this haze button, you can see it a little bit better there. You can adjust the cone of it. So that's one option there. There's another button here called contrast. And basically what this does is it just kind of adds in some different contrast within your scene, which can kind of help with seeing specific things. So like what it basically does is add some black outlines and adjust the contrast a little bit with the scene so that if your room is really dark, it's easier to see things that way. Another couple options, if you hit this grid button a couple times, it will show a grid around everything. So it outlines everything, and on the floor, it also shows a grid here. And you can actually change the whole color of the scene too if you want to see things a little bit differently. Can make certain things easier to see. You just turn that off if you don't want it. So that's that, and a couple other things we could talk about really quickly. You do have the ability to group objects. So let's say you wanted to group these truss pieces right here. All you have to do is hit this group items button right here, and that'll create a green box, and wherever you see a green box at, you can basically move them as a group now. And then you can either ungroup the items or delete them altogether. So that's an option you have as well. And finally, you have some snapping settings. And what the snapping settings do is they allow you to move objects within certain parameters. So by default, it's set to 6 inches. So if I were to move this object, it's moving in 6-inch increments. But let's say I wanted to move it by 12 inches. I just type that in there, and then it moves a larger distance. Same thing goes for rotate. So it starts by 5 degrees by default, but let's say you wanted something to rotate at 90 degrees. I might go into this top view and rotate it, and you can see that it rotates by 90 degrees that way. Lastly, you do have some other options here as well for venue lighting. So you just have one slider there if you click that button. And then if you want to just turn the lighting of all of your uplights down, it's kind of an easy button to do that this way. So you can see all the uplights that are in your scene are being adjusted. That actually works for a specific type of light, so even though these lights are sort of facing down and down lights, it will affect those as well. All right, and that's pretty much it for a overview tutorial of the application. There are some more features and ways to do different things. There's ways to replace objects as well. So if you were to select a certain type of object like that, and then maybe you wanted to change the tile, you can easily just drag in a new tile like that. And again, there are other smaller features to be seen. So if you ever get stuck on something or are wondering about something, just go ahead over here to this chat box and get a hold of us, and we'll get right back to you. All right.